Hello, audience. Thank you so much for joining us this episode today. It's gonna be very special that I can ensure you all. So first of all, let me remind you all that last month we had a number of live session. We invited a few faculties from different universities to talk about the research opportunities under their supervision. So, if any of you are interested, and if you're from background, I mean, if you're from management background or architecture background, please feel free to explore our previous episodes from our social media platforms. Today, we are going to invite one of the research graduate who finished his PhD and then now kind of a famous face, what I can say. He has finished his PhD from University of Glasgow, and now he is a scientist. He is a higher education mentor and grant winner from the United Kingdom, working with different technological things. So let me invite our guest today, Dr. Niaz Chowdhury. Hello, Dr. Niaz Chowdhury. Thank you so much for making your time today and join us.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned earlier to our audience, that this episode going to be very special because we would like to invite a few graduates to share their experience with our new applicant who going to be applying for their PhD admission or PhD applications in the near future. So, what would be the initial stage that you would recommend them to start with?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Also, it's a very good question, I would say, because every PhD student, every potential PhD student, prospective student, they encounter this question when someone decides, like, I wanna uh, I wanna join a university and I wanna do my PhD. What will be the starting point? And it's a very confusing point because whether they will start knocking supervisor or start looking at universities, my suggestion will be to look at themselves first before they start knocking supervisor or university or like explore subjects. It is very important that we prepare ourselves first because PhD is not like doing a bachelor or doing a master's, or even not like doing an MBA. It is a very customized degree, and that degree will require certain skill set that he or she must demonstrate if they are to get an offer from a university. So it is very important at first to prepare themselves, prepare their CV, and prepare their profile or portfolio. uh, so they must know exactly why they are going to do their PhD. I saw several potential PhD students who said like they want to do a PhD, and then when I asked them like what is your research interest, they couldn't properly tell me what is their research interest. It is really a deal breaker. If you cannot tell someone what is your research interest, then it will be very very difficult to get a breakthrough at a university. So it is, and also it is very important because PhD is not just like doing a master's. It is important because you need to invest your time, energy. So if you are not passionate about a certain thing, you cannot actually complete that degree. So you must know what is your research interest. This is the first thing. So anyone uh, willing to do a PhD must know that. And when you know what is your research interest, then automatically you will know that what is your passion and what you want to do. And then eventually you will start to develop some experience. Maybe some will do some projects, some will do write some paper, attend some conference or workshops. This way you start to create a profile, because when someone knocks a professor at a university, it's not enough or it's not sufficient that telling the professor that I just want to do a PhD under your supervision. Professor will inevitably ask them that why me? Why do you think that you want to join my group and you want to do your PhD under my supervision? Many PhD students I saw, don't get an offer because there is no proper matching. Because I remember when I was doing my PhD, or before actually doing PhD, I was actually preparing myself for application process. At that time, I saw some of my friends, they got rejection this way. That the professors are not like complying, they are not replying, or universities are delaying, and so on. So it is very common that if you do not apply somewhere at a proper position, that you possibly wouldn't get an offer. So first, identify your research interest. Second, build your profile. Third, decide what you want to do and what you want to study precisely. You don't have to have a precise research problem in your mind. You don't have to have a precise research proposal, because your potential supervisor will help you write a proposal. And even after joining your university, you'll see that you are moving away from the proposal that you submit at the time of admission. Many students, including myself, we moved away from the original proposal. But it is very important to have an initial idea. That idea will help university, supervisor, and the admission team, admission committee, to decide whether or not they are going to give you an offer.
Exactly, exactly. You have covered most of the part that a student is keen to know. I am an education consultant since 2009, and I've been helping out international students regarding their admissions in abroad. I have seen most of the research proposals are not kind of in the right format, or the way majority students, the way they're communicating with supervisor or approaching them to be their supervisor, somehow the supervisor or universities are not liking it. As a result, they're declining the application, and most of the time most of the rejections come for shortage of supervision or poor quality of paper. So it is important to understand fast, as Dr. Niaz mentioned, to understand what I'm going to do, what I'm going to achieve, to finalize that theme and have that kind of that mentality, or that information you should have in your hand, what you are going to achieve, that clear objective. So thank you, Dr. Niaz, to clarify this bit. And there are many scenario or many occasions student they try to reach out to random supervisor at the same time. What would be your advice over there?
Well, maybe I will share some experiences. Uh, when I was applying for my PhD back in basically PhD admission, I started my PhD. I got my offer from Glasgow for September 2000, 2011. So between 2009 and 2011, it was a very crunch period at that time. It was a recession and there wasn't enough funding. And at that time, I applied for my PhD. And at the same time, I had other friends who were applying for their PhD offer. So, and I noticed that at least I can give you multiple examples where they send, like, in the same department, they sent 5 emails to 5 professors, and the professors, they somehow discussed about the students, and they discovered that the same student approached them at the same time. And it created a very bad reputation for the student. So I personally encountered at that time at least two such incidents. I heard from my friends that they had these issues. So it is really very important that even if they look for supervisors at different universities, don't try to send email or approach professor of the same department at the same time. Maybe someone identify 5 universities and they try to contact professors at 5 different universities. It's okay, you can approach them simultaneously, but in the same department, I always suggest not to approach them simultaneously. And moreover, even in my life, I saw several times that one professor, they received an email and they said, I'm not accepting students at the moment, but I know one of my colleagues he or she is accepting students, so I'm forwarding your email. So if you send multiple emails, and that professor will see, they're like, okay, you sent me this email, and now my colleague is forwarding me the very same email. So it is important to avoid such practice.
Definitely, definitely. I had a couple of conversation with few supervisors back, 2 3 months ago, and then they're sharing a screen of their email. Like, see, one student approached nearly 50 universities, 50 supervisors at the same time, and kept everyone in CC. And he's saying, okay, I'm thinking not to even reply back to this email. So students are taking time to prepare their documentation, draft proposal, and then trying to collect all this information, trying to, reach out to those faculties, collecting their information, email address, and then finally at last stage, they're making that small mistake.
That
They're like sending
mistake.
everyone, they're writing a nice email as well. But it's small mistake like that, putting everyone in CC and sending as a bulk email. Unfortunately, that kind of circumstance, definitely I must say that students will have very less response from faculties. They won't even look into that email when they will see there are other universities are copied in, and they're from different top ranked, average ranking, or even low grade universities altogether. So maybe the proposal was good, but because of that small mistake, they are just missing the
Exactly.
opportunity. Yeah, so that is one
Maybe
of
the
the
student has a good profile, a
exactly.
good proposal, but wrong way to approach professor will hinder his or her uh, the journey. So it is really, really very important to be cautious about how we are communicating with the professors, supervisors, because at the end of the day, if we cannot manage a supervisor, most UK universities will not give you an offer. I can give you one example. I can give you my example. In 2010, I applied to the Glasgow University, but at that time, I didn't apply through any supervisor because I was applying to many universities, and I thought I'll just simply submit an application this way, and I received rejection from Glasgow because I didn't specify any supervisor, and they say there is no specific supervisor. However, um, the following year, when I met my supervisor and I applied through him, I got scholarship there. So definitely Glasgow University had supervisors who were qualified enough to supervise me. But that didn't happen in 2010 just because I didn't mention. And most supervisors, if the application doesn't specifically tell that they are looking for this kind of supervisor, or they are looking for them, then they tend to like avoid random applications. They have limited time. They do not have enough time to go through a lot of applications and identify who would be a suitable match or suitable fit for them. Instead, try to contact a supervisor, convince them first, and then submit your application.
Exactly. Yeah. If you have a kind of a theme in head, or maybe your proposal is ready, it would be wise to approach those supervisors individually, try to reach out to them, try to show your interest and why that supervisor is kind of you are fit for that project, or whether they are looking into something and whether you could help, or as Dr. Niaz mentioned, you could be a part of the team member. So it is important to prepare yourself well, and then you approach those faculties. Last question, because we have a time limitation, Dr. Nias, from your side, like you studied computer science, right? What,
Yes.
yes. What was, I mean, what inspired you to do a PhD on computer science?
Well, I have been a researcher since my undergrad life. So even when I was an undergrad student, I was heavily involved in research. So research always attracts me. I like to look. I like to dig deep and try to invent something and try to explore the areas. And that's why when I was doing undergrad project, it was a research project, and then master's project, research project. Eventually, I ended up doing my PhD, and I completed actually three postdoctoral research positions. So basically research is my passion, and I continue to do research. And at the moment, even in the UK, I'm a research consultant now, and I got an Innovate UK research grant in 2020 that I have just completed. It's a government grant from the UK. So I'm heavily involved in research, and that that's basically my passion, and it motivated me to eventually prepare myself as a PhD student and then complete the PhD study. And I completed my study, like I completed my 3 year PhD within the 3 year time frame. I then immediately I before submitting my thesis, I moved to postdoc when I was writing my thesis. But within that 3 year time frame, I completed my PhD research. It was because I had that passion, and I never ran out of time. I saw that many people, they complained that like it's 4 years or 5 years that I can't finish my PhD. Maybe some has a valid reason, but in most cases it's about passion, and if you do not very much passionate about your research and your work, then it will be really difficult to finish it on time. And for me, it is always my passion, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, so research is all about passion. A student, applicant, or whoever are keen to do a PhD in the future, they need to ensure that they're passionate about that. I noticed a number of students, they end up rather than finishing it properly and mid of the journey. So unless a student or an applicant doesn't have that objective passion, they will struggle to finish on time because you need to focus on one thing and you can't move away from it. Unfortunately, you need to stuck with that. Thank you so much, Dr. Niaz, for your time today. It was amazing having you here. I believe all the audiences who are watching us today and will be watching the videos will find it beneficial. Our aim is to help those students who are thinking to consider a PhD and then how they can get information from us and then try to secure a place from the university. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you. Thanks,
joining us
thanks,
today.
thanks to you, and thanks to everyone who are watching us today.
Thank you. So, thank you so much, dear audience, for joining us today. And we believe you will find this session helpful. And coming week, we are also inviting a few research students to join us. And then we'll be talking about their experience and how they started their journey, how they secured their funding, and different other information as well. So we would really be happy to know that all this information, all this video will be available on our website and our social media platform as well. So please feel free to watch out whatever needed. Thank you so much and have a good time. You take care of yourself.